I think Gorey, there are things of mine that I can point at very obviously and say, this is Gorey influenced. I did a book called The Dangerous Alphabet. But I think much more than the specifics that you can point to, for me, Gorey was the attitude. When I started Coraline, I thought this is a Gorey story. It felt Gorey-ish. You see, for Coraline, there is attitude, and the attitude is more who are you telling the story to, and are they willing to listen to the story? And that, for me, was quintessentially Gorey. The idea that you are telling the story that you want to tell, and that 99 out of 100 people are going to just not be on your wavelength. They're going to look at a story like Coraline and just go, it's too weird. And then one person is going to go, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And that willingness to be that, and that willingness to be that in a world that is somewhat disquieting. If you know, the biggest thing I felt that I gained from Gorey was that, just the willingness to go, okay, I'm going to do a story for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds, and it's going to be scary. And also knowing, as I wrote it, that one day I wanted to send it to Gorey, that I wanted him to draw it, that Coraline in my head was a tiny little Gorey figure, and that even just the imagining her, because you go, okay, if Gorey is doing a drawing from Coraline, Coraline is never going to fill the drawing. She's always going to be a small, white-faced, blank figure with terrifying things around her. Even if the terrifying things are just shadows and the shape of the world, she's going to be this little thing. And that kind of kept me going in a weird kind of way, that the idea, the taste of the story. Gorey's use of ambiguity, his willingness never to spell anything out. Not only his willingness, his refusal ever to spell anything out. He will give you the pieces. It's almost as if he'll give you a crossword, and you have to fill it out yourself. And he's filled out a lot of it for you, but then you're also not quite sure if he's filled it out correctly, because he might have given you half a clue and then something that contradicts it. So Gorey's way of constructing stories was deeply and gloriously ambiguous. He would give with one hand and take with the other, and you just had to enjoy that. In my head, Gorey was always going to illustrate Coraline, and it felt really strange and peculiar. We just started reaching out as I finished the book, because I wanted to have a finished book that I could send out, and the book took me 10 years to write. But I remember at the end of 2000, finishing the book, and 3 days later learning that Gorey was dead. And there was something very strange and odd about that, the idea that I had been going to give him my book. It was the first thing I was looking forward to sending him. You know, as I say, very initial feelers had been put out with, and the information that it would be received encouragingly had come back, and then that went away.